everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video and for being interested in my project. My name is Julia and I'm the founder of the W.A.T.E.R Gold Award project. W.A.T.E.R stands for Water Access Through Educating Roswell, and so my goal in this video is to help teach you guys about some of the issues facing mainly women and girls in parts of the world where clean water access is difficult. So today during this walk we will be doing a 3.7 mile route, and we picked 3.7 miles because it is symbolic of the average distance that a woman or a girl in an area without clean water must walk every day just to get water. So we are doing this distance, but obviously you can modify this, do shorter if you want or longer, because clearly there are people that must walk longer and shorter distances to get water. One of the modifications that you can make if you would like is to carry a gallon of water. So today that is what me and my friends will be doing. We will be carrying a gallon of water. We'll be passing it among the few of us so that we can all get the experience and not have to carry it for a super long time. But we wanted to do this because it shows how it gives you a little glimpse into the amount of water that someone must carry just to provide for their families. So we'll talk more about what the symbolism of this type of walk is during the walk and some more facts about clean water access. But I'm so excited that you decided to watch this video, and let's get started on the walk. So here we are at the river where we're going to do our 6K walk, which is 3.7 miles. I brought with me a few of my friends that are going to do the walk with me, as well as 2 gallons of water that look like this. This is meant to help the person that is doing the walk feel like they are holding the amount of water that a woman must hold when they are carrying clean water back to their family. Okay, so now we're going to meet some of my friends and fellow Girl Scouts that will be doing this walk.
Mary. I'm Angela. I'm Sydney. I'm Catherine.
Let's get started! First, we want to talk about the role that women and girls have in collecting water. So this issue mainly affects women, and as Girl Scouts we wanted to focus on something that affects girls because we have a special connection to the girls that must collect clean water. So I'll read some facts and I'll talk about how these affect the women and girls in those areas. So in areas without clean water access, 62% of girls, but only 38% of boys must help with water collection. And this affects girls because they're not able to go to school in most cases since they must spend their time in water. Additionally, many women have to walk for water even when they are pregnant, breastfeeding, have a newborn baby, or something like that. And so getting water will be an especially hard challenge for them. However, the men often will not do any of the water collection. Sometimes there are very unsafe conditions that make it bad for children to be collecting the water. However, many girls must still go and fetch the water for their families. Children often get illnesses from dirty water, and this prevents them from doing the small amount of education that they may be able to do, and they also often still must participate in water collection even when they are very ill. Finally, I want to talk about the effect that giving water and giving tools that allow for clean water access has on women. So when women are able to get an education and not spend their time collecting water, the GDP of a country often goes up and the maternal mortality rate goes down. So not only is clean water access and collection very important for the time being, but it also empowers women to have a more positive effect on their country and economy. Although today we are mainly focusing on the water crisis in countries outside of the United States, many citizens inside of the United States also do not have clean water access. So as many as 1.6 million people in the United States don't have clean drinking water or indoor plumbing. This is something that most of us think of as an essential, especially for people living in the U.S., but in many communities that is not a given. And as many as 63 million people, which is 1/5 of the U.S. population, have water that has been tested high for some unhealthy contaminants, such as lead. These can have a severe negative effect, especially on children, which again, as I've mentioned before, harms not only the child, who could have like birth defects or even die from these contaminants, but it harms the community as a whole. So two examples of cities that don't have clean water access in the United States are Flint, Michigan and Newark, New Jersey. They both have unhealthy water because of lead pipes. Lead pipes are often also the way that water gets transported in places like Africa and Asia, because poor infrastructure is built just to give these communities water. So even in the United States, in places where water is accessible theoretically, people don't have enough money to afford clean drinking water. So in conclusion, even though we are lucky to live in a place such as the United States that has an abundance of water generally, problems with clean water access are still very high. Not only is water very hard to find in many of these areas, but often when they get the water, it is extremely unclean and has to be filtered multiple times for it to even be safe enough to drink. So 500 to 3,000 children die every single day just from illnesses caused by waterborne pathogens. And this is detrimental to obviously the child, but also to the community as a whole, because for many of them, children are the only hope that the community has for getting out of extreme poverty. So the way that many communities and families must clean water is by boiling it. And not only is this imperfect because it doesn't always kill all of the waterborne pathogens, but it also is extremely time consuming and prevents the family from doing many of the things that we would consider essential for water. One of the main ways that waterborne illnesses can be solved is through water filtration tablets and other filter systems. So these can help clean water easily by just pouring water through a tube or a pump or placing a tablet into dirty water. The best way, obviously, is to have the water begin clean with clean water pumps that are inside of a community, but water filtration tablets and filters are the second best option for preventing waterborne illnesses. Not only are there natural unsafe conditions such as hot temperatures, animals, or bugs, but there can also be human conditions that make it very challenging for women and children to collect water, such as people that want to rob them, take their water, or even worse than that. So many women and children die every year just from being attacked or something like that while collecting water. As I've said before, women and girls often are not able to have jobs because they must spend nearly all day collecting water. In some communities, they must spend up to 8 to 12 hours just getting water, so they don't have time for nearly anything else. However, giving clean water access to women and children helps empower not only them personally, but their community and country as a whole. Often when areas have clean water access, their GDP goes up, their literacy rate goes up, and their maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate go drastically down. So as a result of improved clean water access, the community and the individual is able to better flourish. The last stop we're making is to talk about the education and economic prosperity of children who grow up in areas without clean water access. So like we talked about before, many girls and some boys must forego school to collect water for their families. And education is something that we here in the United States often take for granted, even when we're not able to go to in-person school. But when girls and boys must collect water, they are unable to go to school or even learn basic skills like reading and writing. So there are many reasons that girls are not able to go to school or get an education. The main one being that they must spend all day getting water or spend most of the day getting water, especially when their schools are very far distances away already. Additionally, many students get sick from the unclean water that they must drink. So whether it is a short-term or long-term illness, they're unable to go to school for a prolonged period of time, and therefore they miss out on the education needed to succeed. Additionally, many families in areas without clean water access also are in very deep poverty, and they cannot afford to send many children to school. So sometimes they're unable to send even one child to school, and usually when they can send a child to school, they will almost always pick a boy. Therefore, they're unable to have an education that will give them a job or skill in the future. Therefore, this causes girls to be married as young as 14 years old and spend her life doing what her mother just did for her, which is collecting water on basically an infinite basis. Therefore, they cannot support themselves or get a job, and they will likely never have the skills or experience required to live a life independently. This is clearly bad for the individuals, but it's also very bad for the country in which it occurs. I talked before about the loss of GDP, which negatively affects the country's economy and in turn makes them not able to fund clean water for the next generation. Thanks so much for joining us on our walk. I hope you learned something about clean water access and that you will consider doing your own water walk. Thank you.
And then fight like a girl. At 31, she was wheeling and dealing, kept on hitting that same glass ceiling. She was never gonna be one of the boys. No, she couldn't give up on her